Good morning to everyone. Over here, a warm welcome to all of you in this wonderful morning. Today, I am Jay Anandakumari of class 4th year to take this opportunity to welcome you all to webinar. First of all, I would like to welcome our correspondent sir, Thiru R. Jolechami sir, and our respected principal, Dr. B.G. Vishnuram sir. And also, I am glad to welcome our team, Dr. P. Marichami sir, and our beloved head of the department, Dr. M. Saul Hamid sir. A warm welcome and lots of good wishes on becoming a part of our coordinators. I am very much glad to welcome our Honorable Chief Guest Dr. K. Aravindan Sir, Associate Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, Raja Rajeshwari College of Engineering. He has been a research supervisor in BTU and doing two numbers of PhD projects. He is one of the registered licensed building surveyor (LBS) and also one of the registered structural engineer Government of Tamil Nadu. He is a member of Indian Concrete Institute, etc. He presented various seminars for faculty members as well as research scholars. He is one of the visiting professors from 2012 to 2013 in Anna University Regional Center, Coimbatore. He conducted various number of government and private organizations for construction materials and structural design. And also I extend a warm welcome to all the beloved faculty members and lovable participants. The session will be handed over to our chief guest.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, one and all present here. Yes, I thank through R. Soleswamy sir, the correspondent PSR group of institution, and Dr. B.G. Vishnuram sir, he is the principal, and Mohammad Sahul Amit, respected HOD, and the organizers Manoj Guru, Bhaskar Singh, and Divagar, our assistant professors. Also, I welcome all the participants who are here for this webinar. And I hope that everyone are viewing the screen. So I hope it is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The design aspect of tall structures. So when we talk about the vertical improvement and vertical lifting of structures, and we have to manage the population in specific countries, we don't have a lot of land availability, and due to that the vertical upliftment is very much important, and some countries have a land availability in large, and in those cases the vertical upliftment of structure has to be assessed in order to go ahead. Okay, so what are the aspect of tall buildings? So why we need a tall building? Say for example, in Dubai we can see most of the tall structures. Also, not all the parts of Dubai are being well infrastructured. Some specific part has been improved, and rest of the other are similar to many of the countries. So due to the urbanization, the requirement of tall structure is essential. And what are the aspect of tall building? The planning is a primary thing in order to go for a tall structure, and it's not only a part of having a tall structure for any requirement, it also acts as a pride of a land. So if a land has to be mentioned, the structures will be the pride of the land, and what are the structures which are built in that land will speak towards the land. So in need for that, a planning is essential for a tall building. So it goes into the hand of architect. So each and every tall building will be having a peculiar architect. And next thing is structural is another aspect, so which will be carried out by a structural engineer, and foundation will be carried out by a geotechnical engineer, and a specialized foundation is required. Not all the foundations are similar for small as well as the large structures. And if you need a foundation for tall structure, a specific type of foundation design and detail is required. And construction method, so it is a vital part, plays in the economy of a structure. So we can plan structural design and we can make a geotechnical design, and if we want a construction method, it needs manpower. and it needs a technique. Each and every tall structure is being constructed by a different technique, and according to the scope of the above three. The three things are primary: planning, structural, and foundation are primary. According to this, the constructional aspect is being supported. Also, fire resistance. So it is an important part. Why? Because the evacuation of all the people who are there and all the people around the tall structure is very much important. Why? Because during all familiarity, it is okay with it, and in a certain condition of unfamiliarity, so the fire resistance is very much important in order to evacuate. And last thing is economics. Yes, it comes not under the part of civil engineering, and it comes to the client side. And next, what is tall building? There is a definition. There is no uniform definition which is there throughout the world. Tallness is a relative thing. So, if in case of a place like South India, the structure which are around 15 to 20 story called as a tall structure. Why? Because the infrastructure development are increasing day by day and year by year. So the tallness, we can say that in those area we have a tall building or tall structures, but it is a relative phenomena. Whereas if you go to some countries, there will be buildings up to 100 stories which are common. You can see 20 to 30 number of structures, and in that place the tall structure definition is different, and for different countries you have different norms, and we have to follow that. So there is no uniform definition for a tall building, so it is a relative matter. Okay, it depends on person and community circumstance and consequence of perception. So how you perceive is tall building. So it is a vague word which cannot be fit into a civil engineering term. So when you are coming into the point of civil engineering terms, low rise building comes around 1 to 3 floor, so which is lesser than 9-meter height. And if you want to mention those as multi-storied building, and it should be 4 to 6 meter, and it will be around 9 to 21-meter height. And middle rise building 7 to 9 floor, and small high rise building from 10 to 16 floor, and high rise building are 17 to 40 floor. So these are the levels before a tall building. So this classification comes before the tall building, and the highest high rise building will be ultra high rise building, which is more than 40 story. And these are the preliminary things up to a height of 100 meter. The structural engineering point of view, because of its height, it is affected by lateral force due to wind or earthquake action. So if you want to mean in terms of structural engineering point of view, these are the two things. If your construction is largely being affected by these two phenomena, the wind as well as the earthquake action. So if the lateral force is comparatively higher than the vertical force, then it can be said as a tall structure. And you have a council on tall buildings and urban habitat. So this is a international association and organization. They are particular in growing the urbanization and growing the tall structure. So throughout the world you have the associations, and in India we have CTBUH, and in that association they have several classification, and they are interested in making and creating, developing these skyscrapers. And the term skyscrapers, building taller than 200 meter, are called skyscraper, and super tall skyscraper is the next level, that is taller than 300 meter. And the only term mega tall building, the buildings taller than 600 meter, is Burj Khalifa, and this is the only structure which is beyond 600 meter level. And you can see the picture here, it is nearly,
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
Sir, slides are not moving, sir.
See, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Now it's moving. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So you can see around 800 meter of a height, and the rest of the structure, that is Type A 101 tower, which is around 509 meter, and many of the structure which are hyper tall building which are under construction. So they are around 900 meter, and still only one structure which is having around 600 meter is a mega tall structure. So these are the classification under this.
Sir, make it full screen, please. Make it full screen.
Yeah. Is it visible now? So
No,
anyone
sir,
can-
not it.
So I am sharing my entire screen. Please confirm from that end so that it is visible or not.
Yes, yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Okay, fine, thank you. Yes,
Okay, sir.
the requirement for tall structure. See, what is the demand? Why you need tall structure? Is there any demand for that? Is there any force which is behind that? Yes, if there is anything which are below, so you can go for a tall structure. First one is feasibility. Either the tall structure is feasible for a government or for a country. So which is not a, see, the tall structure cannot be built by a common person, and it is for the common people, for everyone. See, the construction is not only for a single person. If a tall structure cannot be occupied by a single person or for him, so it should be a community oriented structure, and it will be a landmark. So the landmarks are only decided by the person who is very financial unstable and also from the government. So is the person and the government has feasibility, and second thing is desirability. Are they desired to make tall structure? So that is what I earlier mentioned in the session. Is there any desirability? If you have enough of land, and if your town is under a planning, and if you are having sufficient space, then it is not required. So if you want to make a landmark, so the statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is a landmark, and it is a tall structure which is not used for any services. So it is a structure which is the pride. So it is also a structure, so which we will discuss. So it is built for certain desirability and level of construction of technology. So in India, specifically, we are hiring from foreign countries regarding whatever it might be. It might be a hyperloop train. So if we are planning for a next level of development, and we are giving for a tender, and we are getting the manpower from the other countries. So the level of construction technology will be different. So after certain experience, we can make our own technology, and the person who are working all around the world, which are available in the availability of materials and state of development for the service necessary. Is the service necessary? If you are planning for tall structure, if what are the service you are going to give? So if it is necessary, you can do. So with this introduction, so let us go into the design aspect. So in this seminar, we are only interested in design aspect and how a structural engineer design and how a civil engineer look into a concept of design of tall structure. So in academic perspective view, we know the concept of how the rigid frame structure are designed, how the framed structure are designed, beam, column, foundation, slab, everything, etc. So we know the calculation of reinforcement, and we know to construct and all the things which are dealt. So what about the design aspect of this tall structures, so which are higher than 400 meter, 500 meter? Is the techniques what we are dealing in our subject is enough, or is there any new technique or new principal phenomena is there? So this is what the core of the subject today. So let us discuss with this. So first aspect of design is strength and stability. So you can see a picture here. So I hope everyone remember this Popeye cartoon, and if he is having his spinach, he will be able to make anything and everything. So you can see a steel structure is being vanished as simple as that. So in only cartoons you can see this. So you don't need any structure in real time to happen like this. And under the worst probable loading, under the lifetime of the structure, including under construction. So what are the requirement for the stability is, while you are making for all the design, so whatever you are designing for a single story structure, say for example a beam which is having a 10-meter span, and if you are making the reinforcement for the dead load and live load, which is sufficient even if you go for 100 story or if you go for 200 story. So the principle are same in case of strength and stability. So the concept will not change. So there will be addition of loads apart from the dead load and live load. These are will be dealt next. And here in terms of stability, you can see why I included the cartoon here is, the structure is behaving like a rigid body deformation. So there is no foundation connection with it. So if there is any force which is acting, or it should not get deformed or damaged with a rigid body deformation. So you should be yes. Next thing is structural form. So there are different types of structure. We have heard about the two things which are framed structure and load bearing structure. So these are the two things which is there in academic. So there are number of other forms of structure which is particular in terms of high rise, and up to 10-story structure which is designed for gravity load. So the major load will be gravity, and any increase of member for wind load and permissible stress and load combination. So you can add the increase of the wind load, and it will not be much more than the gravity load. So it will be little when compared to the gravity load, in the sense lesser than 10%. And more than 10 stories, additional materials are required due to wind load. So if you are a structural engineer, if you are designing for a structure, and you can see the gradual increase of the material purely due to wind load and earthquake load. So both you can consider, and according to the zone and according to the level, these loads are being differentiated and the materials are being used. If you go for 10-meter span of a structure, say if a column is there, and if you want to design a beam for a 10-meter, you will be having at least 0.6 to 0.9 meter of depth of a beam. Say for example, if you are going for a large opening, so there is a higher demand of depth. Also, there is a higher column size is also required. So up to 100 stories or 200 floors if you are going, so what happens to those kind of structures? And so the material will be only increased not only due to the gravity load, so due to the wind load this material increase. And more than 50 stories structurally forms are critical, economical and viability. So you can see the evolution of structural system. This is type 1. There are 4 types, and first thing are type which are known as shear frames. So here you will be having a load bearing structure, and along with that you will be having shear walls, and this is a single type. And next thing is interacting system. So you will be having frames with shear trusses. And the third type, you can see that partial tubular system. In that you can see around 60 floors. Above that you can use for the partial tubular system. Why? Because why you can't use this tubular system and fully tubular system which is used for around 100 floors, and this is the type 4 evolution of a system. So why you are not going for the lesser story structure is the demand of the material which is higher. So for a particular type of load you will be having particular members. So you would be hearing about beam, column and slab. These are the primary members which are in superstructure. So in case of vertical increase, so the structure is splitted into dead load. So the structure is separated. So you can see for carrying dead load and live load you will be having separate column and beam, and for taking the wind load you will be having separate column and the beam connection. So that in a civil engineering point of view you can differentiate what are the beams and columns which are constructed to take the gravity load and what are the other. So let us discuss this in detail. So you know that the rigid frame structures which are connected between beam column joint, and you can raise this structure up to 25 stories. And the economic, so how in economic you can use this rigid frame structure is you can go up to a size of 6 meter by 9 meter bay. So up to this bay you can rise up to 25 stories. So what are the advantage of going for a rigid frame structure is you can have a open rectangular arrangement. So the rectangle shape is the most often shape which is being utilized by all the services. So if you have a plan of a rectangle, you can easily occupy all the requirements for the people, and a rectangle shape has a science behind it, and the space is being represented by the rectangle shape and time is being represented by the circular shape. So we are all are existing in a space, so whatever thing which is there in a rectangular shape, it will be easily occupied by the people or by anyone. So this is the scientific phenomena, and the rigid frame structure are primarily for the rectangular shape, and it depends on beam and column connection with its stiffness. So the stiffness of the structure, see there is a concept called lateral drift, and if you keep on increase your structure, what happens? There will be drift in a structure due to the lateral load. So it will be around 1 by 100 to 1 by 1000. So at this range, so what is this 1 by 100 is? So you have to multiply with the overall height. So if your building height is 100 meter, you have to multiply 1 by 100 into the 100. So your deflection will be for 100 meter height of a building, you will be having 1 meter of vertical drift. So this is the guideline which is being given, and for 100-meter building you can see that there will be 1 meter of drift. So if you are standing in the lowest point of the building at the ground floor, and if you are viewing up, you can see the drift of 1 meter, and it will be up to the level of the lateral force, and these drift will affect the structural strength. And for this purpose of handling this drift, you need to increase the structural member. What happens in this rigid frame? You will be increasing the column size, and you will be increasing similarly the beam size. And what happens? The material will be wasted. And for that, the rigid frame is up to economic level. It could be used for this height. And rigid frame construction suits RCC rather than steel. So if you are a designer, you can go for rigid frame structure for concrete material. Why? Because the connection is a very big thing. So in steel structure, rest of the things are very much easy, and connections are the part where you will be requiring more technical points regarding the design and regarding the manufacturing, and doing installation also. The connections are very much difficult, and it will be very much costly in terms of a rigid frame structure. So it is, if you are going for rigid frame structure for economic purpose, you can go for steel, you can go for concrete, and the connection will be very much easy when comparing to the steel. Okay, then infill frames. So in India, most of the places we are following the infill frames. So whenever we go for a rigid frame, and the partitions between two walls is being decided by this brick wall, or it may be a other walls which may be blocks which may be added between the structure, and the outer walls is being filled up with this members. And up to 30-story height, these infill frames are economical and efficient. The term efficient has many and more parameters, so that I will discuss further. And in infill behaves as a strut in diagonal to the brace of the frame. You can see a brick wall here, and this is similar to what you are using braces in the steel structure. So whenever you find braces in a steel structure, in railway station you can see, so during the passage, when you are passing into the passage, you can see in the vertical lift you can observe the diagonals, and the bracings are supported here. So in case of RCC structure, these bracings can be equivalent to the infills. And the economic way of strengthening and stiffening the structure, it is the most economic way. Why? Because you can use the structure as a load bearing. So these, even though it is non load bearing member, they can take some load, they can transfer some load and distribute some load. So distribution is very much important here, and even though after distributing, it acts as a partition between the two people. So you can partition by using this kind of the material, and the disadvantage is accuracy to predict the stiffness or strength of infill due to complex interactive behavior. So many of the researchers in the PhD are working in this. So you should know about the dampness, how much the dampness which will be increased when you include infill in your structure. So this is a research concept. What will be the dampness and how to regularize? So there is a no regular formula or empirical formula which is in standard is available. So by the experience, they are widely using. So if you want to make a line, so what is the amount of material which you are using? And so it is a wide phenomena. It is not accurate to predict the stiffness and strength. So even though it adds certain strength, but it is hardly accurate. And next thing is shear wall structure. So these kind of structure, you can go up to 35 stories. So you can see number of stories which goes beyond 35 stories. Why I meant here is, so you have the economy and the efficiency. So up to this number of stories, if you are going, you will be having both in parallel. So concrete vertical walls serve architecturally. So you can see the picture here. The shear walls gives architectural appearance also. If there is a planar in your structure, you can observe the aesthetic view. So the shear walls is being appreciated by the architectural engineers. So in the external supports, so whatever if you are using, it is being it gives a good look. Okay. So use of partition to transfer gravity and lateral loads. So the shear walls have the two components. So they transfer the gravity loads and they are primarily used for carrying the lateral load. You can see the shear walls will be running from the bottom to the top of the structure. So there should be no discontinuity in construction of the shear wall, and very high in-plane stiffness suits the tall building. So if you are considering any plane, so at that particular plane, so in this case of a structure, you can see the shear wall in all the two planes, which is in x and y direction, either in positive and negative. So you can see the symmetry, and you can have the distribution of force evenly, so that it has the high in-plane stiffness. So they are entirely responsible for lateral load resistance, also acoustic, fire and insulation in between. So if you need acoustics, so in the tall structure which are built, so this structure will be having cinema theaters, and they can have library also, they can have a theme park. So in many countries, so the tall structure is being used also for this theme parks also. So everything if you are having inside the structure, and how about the acoustics? So it should not disturb the other person and the other type of service which is being used, and the fire insulator. So fire is an important factor in the tall structure, which will be discussed later, and this restrict planning and open internal space are required. So what happens if you are introducing more number of shear wall, there is a lagging of windows. So you cannot place a window for, say for example, if you are providing your tall structure for residential purpose at a particular story, so it is not available, and they are well suited for hotels and residential building, floor by floor repetitive plan. So if you want to go for a shear wall structure, and these are ideally suited for residential building, and if you have repetitive plan, the hotels are built similar to that. You can see the common functions which are available throughout the vertical limit, and low to medium rise building, shear wall is used with frames. And you can see that this is a coupled shear wall. You can see a window here. Shear wall is not only purely constructed by using a single wall, you can use this coupled shear wall. So this is a coupling beam. So both the shear walls is being connected by using this coupling beam. So you can have the windows and openings here, and also you have a wall frame structure. So this is the next level, up to 40 to 60 story you can go for wall frame structure. What do you mean by that? Wall in the terms which is mentioning here as shear wall. So the shear walls will be transferring the lateral loads and the rigid frame will be transferring the gravity loads, and shear can be turned approximately uniform throughout the structure and allows the repetitive plan. So the purpose of shear wall is to transfer the vertical load evenly. So without the shear wall, what happens? It does not transfer the load evenly. So we cannot resist the lateral force. So what we can do is we can distribute all the forces to each and every member at the respective floor. And the next type of forms of structure is tubular structure. So you can see this is a World Trade Center, which is an example for a tubular structure. And this structure, which is used beyond certain limit, and you can see that these are the peculiar things in a tubular structure. You can observe that, and all the column spacing will be having rarely 1 meter to 2 meter. So a very close spacing column will be there around the structure. So the outer part of the structure will be having nearly 8 or 9 feet. So at this closed distance between the center to center, you will be hardly having the opening. So and the inner column, you can see that the difference. So the what the column is having in the outer side spacing is different from the inner column. So the inner column is placed to primarily transfer the vertical or gravity load, and the outer column will be transferring the lateral force, and the in between in-plane structure, which are beams which used to distribute the forces evenly between the inner and outer column. And by this concept, so you can go up to 40 to 100 stories, and these are the most efficient for rectangular plan. So if your plan is rectangular, and you can straight away go ahead with the tubular structure, which is occasionally circular and triangular. So you can use also circular structure and this triangular, so which are very rare in the case. So they carry the lateral loads. So the thing is the very stiff moment resisting tubular frame around the perimeter of the building, and this is what I have mentioned. The flange column is less stressed than the corner column. So this is the disadvantage of having the tubular frame structure. And see the corner columns, what you observe here, so the corner columns have the high amount of stress when you compare to the in between columns if you have. So this is the disadvantage of having the tubular structure, so which is primarily frame tube. And next thing is hull core structure. And what do you mean by hull core is, see the center part is known as the core and the outer part is known as the hull. So that is outer tube. So you can have the shear wall inside in a tubular structure. If you are having the core, inside the core you will be having a shear walls, and outer part of the structure will be having the tubular structure, which will be having the closely spaced columns. And if you are using this kind of a structure, you can go for the next level of height. So the outer and inner tubes are present. Core is used as an internal elevator. So the elevator, if you want to construct, is a conscious thing where the small deflection does make the difference, and these part you can use the core as the elevator, and for other service you can use for pipelines and air conditioning, ventilation, everything. So you can use those core for the purpose of that. And the steel structure for core, if you are constructing the structure by steel, you can use braced frame when you are constructing the structure by steel, and if you are constructing the whole structure by using concrete, you can use shear walls. Yes, next thing is bundled tubes. So this is the another level. So the Sears Tower in Chicago is being constructed by using the concept called bundled tubes, and you will be having the number of bundles in a separate frame. So you can observe here, these are the number of bundles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at the other part you can see 2 number of bundles. So there will be 9 number of bundles. So what do you mean by bundles is, so each and every plan have a tubular structure. Multiple number of tubular structure is being connected, which is known as bundled tubes. So 4 parallel rigid steel frames in orthogonal direction. So in this structure you can see 9 number of bundles. So I will share you the plan, and the frames in the lateral direction of the loading serves as the web of cantilever for the normal frames acting in the flange. So this is the point which is being getting advantage. So you can serve as the normal frames. So the load which is coming in the lesser bundle, so these bundles carry the remaining part of the load, and the next level will be carried into the next bundle. So you can see the level of bundles. So each and every bundle carry the lateral force. At the top of the story you can see that while analysis there will be less amount of lateral force, and if you go towards the bottom of the structure you will be having more number of bending force due to the wind, and due to the less number of bending force at the top you might have less number of bundles here, and if you go to the bottom of the structure you will be having number of bundles which is connected in a single plane. So the internal webs generally reduce the shear lag. So I will explain the web here. Yes, this is the picture of the structure which is there in shear, and you can see number of bundles here. So these are the 9 number of plan. So 9 number of bundles which are connected at the story from 1 to 50, and if you go beyond 51 to 66 you can see these 2 tubes are being omitted and the rest of the tubes are being increased, and up to 67 and 90 you can see that the remaining two tubes are being vanished, and at the top of the structure you can observe 91 to 110 structure. You can see the tubes, only 2 tubes which are going to the top of the structure. The concept here is the bending stress are very less due to the lateral force at the top of the structure. So if you go to the level of bottom there will be maximum flexural stress, and in order to take that this kind of a plan is being provided for the structure. And yes, next thing is diagonal brace tubes. The example of the structure is Hancock building which is built in 1969. So the greater spacing between the column and the greater heights are available. So in case of tubular structure I mentioned that 1 to 2 meter is the column distance, and you can see the column distance can be increased. Why? Because you are increasing the lateral stability by using the stiffeners. So the diagonal stiffeners are used to carry the lateral loads, hence you can use the column spacing. So this is the one of the advantage, and they reduce the shear lag effect in both flange and web. Yes. Let us go for the next level of structure, that is outriggered braced structure. So this is another form of a structure which can be used for 40 to 70 story height, and you can see a core structure which is there in internal which will be having a shear wall, and outer that you can see a belt which is being built by using the truss. So these are the trusses which are connected with the inner tubes. So these type of belts are being constructed up to 4 or 5 levels is economical here, and multi-level outriggers are more effective moment of resistance over the single outrigger. So you can see 2 number of outriggers here, and these outriggers are being constructed by using the steel structures, and they carry the lateral force and they transfer through the internal core. So the internal cores act as a force transferring mechanism. So the outer core transfer the force by the beam to the internal core, and the degree to the which the perimeter of the column of outrigger behave compositely with core depends on the number of level of outriggers and their stiffness. So if you keep on increase the outriggers, so you will have the greater stiffness. Yes. So next thing is a suspended structure. So you can see these type of structure are very aesthetic and they are primarily constructed for the aesthetic purpose only. So no other purpose apart from that. So for architectural purpose these kind of structure are used. So this is very pleasing in appearance, but if you are in a civil engineering perspective, they consist of a central core. So you can wonder that how the structure is being connected. So you will be having a central core which will be transferring all the loads. They are gravity and the lateral loads. They will carry these loads which are hanging. So they are being connected by the beam, and the beam loads is being connected in the frame and it is being linked to the inner core. The vertical hangers of the steel cable rods, it may be plates, are attached here. So you can see the cables are being hanged here. So these cables are hanged by the members which are present above. So you can see the load is not transferred directly to the ground. So it is inversely transferring to the ground. So the load, whatever might be the load, it might be gravity load, lateral load, everything, it is transferred to the floors which are above, and the above floor which transmit the load at a foundation. And it is also a construction advantage which is having core cantilevers and hangers to be constructed while the slab. So these are the additional members which has to be constructed. Yes, these are the hybrid structure. The example of a hybrid structure is Burj Khalifa. And what is hybrid in the terms? The number of structural forms are used. So what are the structural forms? You can have a rigid frame structure, shear wall, and you can have core of shear walls. You can use outriggers. Each and everything are different type of forms of structure. So a hybrid in the terms, when two or more structural forms used into a structure, then you can see in Burj Khalifa there are outriggers. So you can observe that these outriggers are being placed at different level in order to increase the stiffness, and you can see bundled tubes. So all the structure which are built in a small plan and which will be raised to a particular level, and slowly if you keep on increase the height, so there will be reduction in the plan. So this improves the stability of the structure. So the non-regular plan, large scale cutout which is being constructed by using the hybrid structure. When you use two or more forms of a structure, you can have large cutouts. So you can have large openings and flutterings. So you can have curved shape in the outer rings. So and also the facets. So these are the advantage of going for a hybrid structure. And the last thing is a space structure. So this is what I have mentioned. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel sir statue is being constructed by using the space structure. So the structure is being constructed inner to take all the loads by using the space frames. So you can see three-dimensional members are being used in order to take the load. So after construction and after the facade members are being installed, you can have a different structure which you are viewing. And Hong Kong Bank of China building, which is being constructed by using this space frame structure, and structurally you can see an awkward kind of an arrangement. So this is a non-familiar thing which you see, but after installation of all the elements, so you can observe a very good structure, and a different structure and a different level of structure can be observed. So this is used primarily for architectural purpose. The structural form is visually interesting and aesthetically very pleasing. And yes, okay, so now we have discussed the number of forms. Now let us go into the technical detail. So these are the surface level information which I gave to you, and you should know what we are discussing, what we are designing. So before going to the criteria of design, a designer should know all the aspects in order to start the design. So he should know the planning aspect, that is what I have said architecturally. So before starting of the session, and initially I have mentioned what are the aspects which is required. So planning is the first aspect. So the structural form which will help you to design the plan. So according to the plan which is being given by the architect, the structural engineers have to work, and after getting the plan, you can decide your structural form. What kind of a structural form you can go, and what are the next level of things which has to be taken care before the design. Okay, when coming into the design criteria, the service intended occupancy is the first design criteria which is required. So what is the service which you are going to give inside? Either it is a theater, either it is a public mall, or a shopping center, or it is an amusement park. Everything can be fitted in a tall structure. So whatever you can see in a horizontal plane, in a land, whatever you can see, you can fit everything into your tall structures. So this is what happening in all the structure which is being built. So what is the service which you are giving to give has to be taken in the first part. And next thing is architectural requirement. So after getting the plan from the architect, so that is the second level. And next, integrating the various services along the building. So the building is not only beam, column, slab and the rest. It has to supply heating. So all the person who are consuming this building, they should have heating facility, and they should have ventilation, proper natural ventilation, and they should have air conditioning. So there is minimum level for a human comfort criteria. So it has to be satisfied, and you have to provide air conditioning for everyone, water supply, and the same water supply has to be taken as waste disposal. Electrical supply you have to provide, and vertical transportation, that is the escalators you have to provide, and these are the major cost of building. So it is not only taking the beam, column and the structure, these are the essential service which is required when you occupy a structure. So a designer has to take everything in his hand and design and mark a way to the working of the next level of the workers. You can see a building information model here. There are different colors you can see. So each and every color represent a different facility. So if you are supplying water, it will be represented in a different color, and how the water is being distributed to each and every service is essential. So these are the design criteria which has to be well defined before the starting of design. And the above design effective and efficient to fit into architectural design. So you have to know the design aspect and the service aspect in order to give a effective plan. So why the practical structure which are given two or more designers? See, if you are going for a structure more than 10 to 12 floor nowadays, they are going for at least 2 or 3 designers. So the clients are meeting 2 or 3 designers. Why? Because the solution which is being given by each and every designer is different. For the same structure, you might have different solution, and different forms of structure can fit your service. And what is the efficient number of service, that depends on the experience of the designer which he is handling. And that is why they are going for 2 or 3 hands of the design, and finally they will be meeting with the client, and the client will be having the last word and the last sentence, either to go with which design or which condition. So everybody will help regarding those perspective. Okay, when coming into the point of loading, and you can see that first point which has to be considered in design is gravity loading. That is gravity load, which is either dead load or live load. Both has to be considered. And second thing is lateral load. So these are the two loads which is being acting in this tall structure, and the lateral loads will be wind and earthquake. These two are, one is a transient effect and another one is a permanent effect. So you might be having a permanent wind flow. So throughout the year you will be having a permanent pattern of a wind flow, and you might be having a constant wind force in a structure, and a transient force like earthquake you might have faced for each and every decades. So you can have earthquake within a decade or within 100 years. So that depends on the zone which you are planning, and these force depends on the size, shape and geographical locations of building. So these are the important things which defines the structure. So if your shape is being optimum, you can reduce your wind force and your structural weight is being reduced. Similarly, the cost will be reduced. So the size and shape are very important, which they are mostly been taken care by the architect. And after the plan, you have to make it into a certain design for the geographical location. So the location is very much important if you are going for low level area or high mean sea level area. So it differs. So you have to consider those things and maximum probable values must be established before the design. And next thing is stability. And if you are speaking about the stability of the structure, you should consider that the rigid body deformation. So the principle will be holding and your whole tall structure should be considered as a rigid body and you should check for the rigid body deformation. It should not get toppled, it should not get twisted. So why we are considering the stability is this is a structure and it should abide the Newton's law and you should check with the Newton's law regarding the overturning, twisting and tilting. These are the checks you have to be done before the proceeding of detailing. And check the basic equilibrium equation under the lateral force can cause to topple from the building or overturning moment with a acceptable factor of safety. So the factor of safety is given by each and every national codes which has to be followed and according to that national code it has to be designed for stability. And okay, so I have mentioned the stiffness and drift limitations. And what I mentioned here is, see the two things which are mentioned in strength wise we have discussed and in stiffness wise the drift is the major parameter. So this is what I have mentioned earlier. So 0.1 to 0.5 meter of drift which is acceptable for 100 meter structure. So there is a drift limitation. This is what I said, around 1 by 100 to 1 by 1000. So here it is mentioned as 1 by 200 to 1 by 1000 and that is 0.001 to 0.005. There is no wide accepted values for limitation. So the drift limitation is given by each and every national code. We have to abide that. And also for one story, the structure can drift to a lateral of 3 to 15 mm and it is normal. And for 100 meter structure, 0.1 to 0.5 meter of drift is normal and which is acceptable. And when considering the stiffness point of view, you have to make sure that this is the amount of drift which can happen. And more than that, which is not acceptable, you have to provide stiffness for that. How we can make stiffness is we can introduce shear walls, we can introduce diagonal members and bracings we can provide. Yes. So the drift also makes discomfort to the occupants. So the discomfort limit is also there which we will discuss. And also if the structure is drifting right and left and if it is not below the levels, what happens? This transfers the load to the non-load bearing partition. So you will be having brick partition or number of partition. So these structures, these non-load bearing structures will be taking the load and even the infill claddings and glazings. So the external structure will be carrying those stiffness and if it is not under the limit and if it is not stiff enough, what happens? These will be taking the load and it will be caused into severe damages. And this problem can be overcome by increasing the bending stiffness of the horizontal member. So the horizontal member carries a major part in carrying the stiffness. So the vertical member carries a major part in transferring the vertical forces, that is gravity force, and the horizontal members are very much important in carrying the horizontal force, that is the stiffness. And you can go for a stiffened wall, that is shear wall, or you can go for a core member In the extreme case, you can use add active or passive dampers. So these are comes under isolation of a structure, and you can use either base isolation or partial isolation. You can use this kind of a active and passive dampers in order to reduce the stiffness and deflection. Yes, next thing is a wind load. So the primary load which I have discussed is a wind and earthquake. So if you want to identify the wind, you can use number of softwares are available, and you can use ANSYS. So we can get the wind force, and the place where we have the maximum number of force and intensity, you can have the analytical observations, and also you can do a wind tunnel test. So this is a wind tunnel test, and the static and dynamic force which can also be considered by using the wind tunnel test. So as per UBC, 123 meter, that is 100 feet, height greater than 5 times the width. So these are the two conditions. If you are constructing a structure of 123 meter height, or a structure which is having 5 times the width of the structure, if the height is more than 5 times width, and that structure is sensitive to high wind excitation. So this is a thumb rule which you can use, how much you have to concentrate on your wind force, and the modeling in wind tunnel can be used. So this is a rare case. So there is a model which has been available, and you can see the structure is being twisted and it is being rotated. Why? Because the wind is being applied at one end, and the structure will be subjected to the wind load at all the direction, and the elasticity, flexural stiffness, drift, everything is being identified in the wind tunnel test. So this is not primarily for civil engineering structure, but for a peculiar structure you need this test, and the wind tunnel test is primary for cars, aeroplane and other automobile, where you have high flow of the lateral force. And the scale of the model might be for wind tunnel test. Okay, you can go for 1 by 100th of the size to 1 by 1000 of the size. Generally 1 by 400 is a common size where you can go, where you can make your structure into a small model, and you can test by using the wind tunnel test in order to get the approximation of load, and you can have an analysis. So you can see the deflection of all the vertical structure due to the earthquake. So the second part of the vertical force is the earthquake load. So the philosophy here which you have to use is, if any minor earthquake is there, your structure, your tall structure should not get any damage for load bearing structure and non-load bearing structure. If the earthquake is moderate, you can have a structural damage, and the non-structural component can have damage, and you cannot have a structural damage. And if there is a severe earthquake, you can have structural damage, but the structure should not collapse and the non-structural member can be damaged. So during this case, your structure should be stable, whatever might be the earthquake. So this is the design philosophy, and you have to take this, and for this design philosophy, you can design a structure, and the certain concept has to be used. So that I will discuss. If the vertical mass distribution is significantly irregular, this is one case, and large floor to floor variation of internal configuration, this is second case, then the model analysis is required. So in earthquake, so if you are following earthquake criteria and codes, they will say that your structure should have a plan which is in regular, either it might be rectangular or it should have a regular plan, and it should have a symmetry. So these are the things which will be following an earthquake resistant structure. But in case of tall structure, they will be very much pleasing to have a pure rectangular or a shape oriented structure. So your structure might be a different shape, and you might be having a floor to floor variation. So the each and every floor might have, say for example, in tubular structure, number of stories, after 10 number of story, you will be having different plan. And what happens in those cases? So how to apply the earthquake force and how to follow that. So in those cases you need model analysis. So for the tall structure which are unique and which have these kind of irregularities, you should go for a model analysis. So you can use softwares in order to identify these parameters, but even though the model analysis gives a better analysis and the exact scenario, and you can have a model analysis by using the lumped mass, which gives the mode shape, natural frequency and model damping. So these are the three parameters which are important when you are going for model analysis. And the next thing is the result can be used in conjunction with response spectral analysis. So the better and the best way is to use response spectrum analysis for dynamic character of earthquake load. So you can use the concept and you can use along with the model analysis. So both things has to be parallelly used. Okay, so do we have proper time? Do we have enough of time? I am crossing the limit. So I have some more points to discuss. So nearly I have 20 more slides. Are the participants are comfortable? So the design.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the design.
The design is going very good.
Yeah, the design engineer are interested in whatever which I am going to discuss now. Mostly practitioners and research scholars and number of academic person which will be interested, and the students might not be interested. So why? Because the technical point of view, nearly we have 20 more slides and I am crossing the limit, so that I have to cross check either is everyone comfortable or not.
Yes, sir. Please continue. Very informative.
Okay. Okay, Manoj, I will be proceeding. So let me take some more time.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. No problem, sir.
Yes. Okay. So how to get into the earthquake load and the aspect, the overall outer aspect of the earthquake load is, see, this is a rough approximation. For a one-story structure, you will be having a time period of 0.1. So this is a rough approximation you can have, but even though this will be a very good empirical approximation in order to proceed for a structure. And if you have a 4-story structure, roughly you will be having 0.5 of natural period, and for 6 to 8 story, for 6 to 8 fundamental period, up to 40 to 50 story, you will be having around 6 to 8 fundamental period. So if you go beyond your structure, beyond the height, what happens? The fundamental period, that is the time period, gets increased. So what happens? See, the lesser time period which will be having number of cycles in a fraction of second. So if you have a fundamental period of say for example 0.01, for 0.01 second you might be having 10 number of oscillations. So if you have 6 or 8, if you have 6 or 8, and what happens, you might have a different fundamental natural of period, and see, for 6 number of second and 8 number of second, you might have one oscillation. So this is the fundamental period of a building. So what happens? The building slowly oscillates from one end to the other end. So what happens? The people who are occupying the structure will be having discomfort, and they fear that your structure and where you stay is not safe. So you have to take into consideration. So during an earthquake, the fundamental period more than the 1, 2. So above 1 and 2 and 6 and 8. So these are the areas. If you go beyond that, then you will be having a greater possibility of earthquake. So the tall structure which are very prone to that. Okay. So if you are having a occupancy of high-tech labs and computers and hospitals, you can make your structure in terms of eccentric braced frame. So it can be a small structure, and you can use the ductile rigid system for damage controlling, and you can use dual wall ductile moment resisting frame system, and eccentric braced frame system. So these are the three type of system which you can use if you are going for a design, and if you are offering a design for high-tech lab and computers and hospitals which you are using. So the term here is the ductility is very much important, hence you are using the components here. And if you are going for office building, you need a you majorly will be having an open plan. So major of the tall structures which will be having an open plan, in the outer surface you can see there will be no partition walls, and you will be having the glazing. And in those kind of structure you can use steel ductile moment resisting frames, and you can go for a steel structure, and steel braced frames can be used, and around that it will be more efficient and economical. And if you are going for a residential structure, then cellular frame, that is concrete shear wall. So if you are going for residential purpose, it is uh, instead of going for steel structural design, you can go for concrete structural design along with the shear walls. So these are the points which will be useful when you are designing for a structure. And the structural system for a site condition, we have the three types of site condition according to the earthquake perspective. So right now I am only discussing according to the earthquake perspective. So if your site is very soft and if you have long period of time, you can use rigid building with short period. So your structure should be very rigid, and you should have increase the stiffness. You should increase the shear wall. Either you can increase by using the shear wall, or you can use steel brace or eccentric brace. And if your site is very hard, so say for example Bangalore majorly has hard sites, so there is a less probability of having the phenomena of earthquake. So if you compare Chennai, so the soil will be very soft. So these are the two areas which is there in South India, which is having a very different condition of soil condition. So you will be having a soft soil condition in the area of Chennai, and you will be having a hard soil condition in the area of Bangalore. And you can use the flexible building with longer period. So you can use ductile moment resisting frame is enough, and also you can use base isolation system for the hard sites. Okay, for poor soil condition and for the pile support, you can use lightweight rigid building. So this is the condition if you are designing for the areas such as the seashore area around Dubai and around the Gulf countries. So you will be majorly having this kind of structure. You need a pile support. So without pile foundation, it is not possible to construct the tall structures, and you need steel dampers, and you should use the lightweight structures. Yes. So these are some of the design solution for soft story. So I explained that the tubular structure are very much useful for going for more than 100 number of stories. If you are going for 1 meter or 2 meter spacing of a column, so can you imagine that where will be the place of the vertical openings, and where will be the place of windows and everything. So what happens in the entrance? At the top floor it is okay. What about the entrance? So in the entrance you will be having 1 meter for that much of too tall story, so it is not appreciable. So in these kind of conditions, so what majorly they will go for is a soft story. So you can see a soft story condition, and you can observe here. And what happens, the bottom floor has lesser stiffness when comparing to the top floor, which everyone will be knowing, and due to the stiffness variation you will be facing the soft story problem, and the building gets toppled. And also due to discontinuity of the gravity load, so the gravity is not flowing in a vertical path. In earthquake analysis, the guideline is being given that all the loads has to be followed in a path of gravity. If it is not, then it will be subjected to turning or twisting of structure, and eccentric of force will be there, and toppling of structure is being found. And you can see this kind of things are familiar. And a heavy structure in the top, you can see a soft story. For this kind of a problem, what you can go is, you can make the bottom story more stiffer by using the column stiffener. So the column has to be more stiffer than the column which is constructed in the top. So it should make sure that the flow of the stiffness and the flow of the force should be linear, and if you distribute all the force, then your structure will be safe. So for a tubular structure, you will be having the column. Even though if you are having the column, you will be having the beam below that, which is floating beam. So in that floating beam, the column will be placed, and the stiffness is very important there, and you can calculate by using softwares, and you should make sure that the flow of force will be linear and there will be no shear deformation. And these are the other things you can add. So you can add columns, or you can add bracings, or you can use buttress. So these are the buttresses which is being used in outer frames, which uses and which helps the structure. Yes, the next thing is damping ratio. It is a research phenomena. We don't have a particular formula in order to find the dampness for a structure. Say for it can be even a 3-story structure or 4-story structure. If you want to analyze dynamically, and if you want to get the damping of the structure and the damping ratio which is required in order to satisfy the fundamental equilibrium for a dynamic excitation. So if your building is under dynamic force, that is earthquake and wind, it should have damping, and you need to arrive the damping in order to make your structure to be stable. And while facing those things, several designers are facing troubles in arriving the dampness ratio. So there are some guidelines which is being arrived, and by many research articles you can find the damping ratio for particular structure. But if you are going for a tall structure, they are unique, and you have to follow and you have to identify your own structural dampness. The structural dampness also depends on each and every structure, and it depends on the structural form, material what you are using, everything. So this damping ratio will give you certain highlight. So if you are going for RCC core, so in a preliminary case of design, these values will be very much useful in order to go for preliminary analysis, and in exact analysis you can find the exact damping ratio for your structure. So why damping is very much important is, in order to take wind load and earthquake load, damping is a phenomena which helps the structure, which helps the engineer, which helps the people in order to reduce your structural response. It reduces the lateral drift. Okay. The RCC core structure and cantilever floor. So if you are this kind of structure and your structural form is like this, you can have a service damping ratio, that is beta, of 0.016, and you can see that the damping ratio, I don't want to take much time, and RCC shear core columns have the damping ratio of 0.04, and RCC for all forms and internal walls. If you are going for RCC structure, you are getting much more damping ratio when you are comparing with the steel frame structure. So you can see steel frame with many internal walls, you can see a damping ratio of 0.04, and this is the difference. Okay. And also this is the design procedure for wind and earthquake. So this is a short and quick way of giving the design procedure. If you want to build a structure for wind, you need a climate. So climate is an important factor in order to design a structure for wind load. And in climate, you have wind speed, direction is important, and storm type. So for each and every place, and for location and for climate, you have different response. In case of earthquake, zone is very important. In which zone you are constructing? Either if you are constructing in Himachal place and in zones of transition of the tectonic plates, they are very important. So that is why classification of zone is important in earthquake and climate is important in wind. Then second thing is exposure. Either you are building in a terrain or local obstruction is there, you can see that. And also for earthquake, local geological and geological feature are very much important about the soil. So these two parameters are about the soil, and you can use time history analysis for wind field. So time history analysis is frequently heard for earthquake. Even for wind analysis, you can use time histories. We have different time histories of storms and hurricanes, and you can use those for your structure in the design. Also, the best method of going for earthquake resistance structure is time history analysis, and you can use those time histories in order to analyze. And structure might have aerodynamics property, and height, width, breadth, everything has to be considered while making a structure. But in case of earthquake, geometry is very, very important. That is, configuration of a structure is very, very important for earthquake. So in terms of wind, the sizes, that is length, breadth, and how the shape is being arrived is very important. Okay, so these are the next similar things. Time history analysis and stress, deflection, acceleration and pressure are the parameters which has to be used for a wind analysis. And in case of earthquake analysis, stress, deflection, acceleration, damage. So only thing varies is pressure. In terms of pressure, you have to identify the wind force. So also in terms of damage, you can analyze by using the earthquake. And I discussed about human comfort criteria. There is a criteria about human comfort. You can see that according to the time period. So there is a rough guideline in order to identify the different time frame. Okay, so the time period which I have discussed, and you can see that this is a Empire State Building's time period, and if your displacement amplitude is lesser than 0.1 meter, if your structure is not moving more than 0.1 meter and it is not observable, you can see. And also if you have a period of a structure which is having around 1 to 2, and you can have intolerable human comfort, and you can see it is classified into annoying or very, very annoying according to the time period of a structure. So if you get the fundamental time period of your overall structure, you can identify the human criteria. So by getting the analysis result, so you can get the time period, and by getting the time period, you can analyze the human comfort criteria. So the motions have psychological effect. So if it is not under the limits, then the building will be unrented. So you are not going to be paid. Okay, so these are the perception levels, and after arriving your values, if your acceleration is around lesser than 0.05, humans cannot perceive motion. So whatever the acceleration from ground floor to top floor, so the acceleration you can arrive, and getting that acceleration you can relevant with the human perception levels at the level of 0.85 meter per second. So after the analysis of earthquake and wind, you can get the floor wise acceleration, and if your acceleration is around greater than 0.85 meter per second square, objects being to fall and people may be get injured, and around 0.4 to 0.5 people strongly perceive motion, difficult to walk naturally, standing people may lose balance. So these are the levels which you gives the approximation. While designing, if your floor responds in this level, you can straight away get the perception limit of humans and you can make the redesign. And about the next concept of creep, shrinkage and temperature effect. We know that creep and temperature are the major factor which is not there in initial levels, and at some years, say for example at 10 to 50 years, after 50 years creep and temperature effect are very, very major when comparing to the gravity load. So the upper region of concrete structure, creep and shrinkage is sufficient to cause distress to non-structural component. First, the creep and shrinkage affect the non-structural component, and the factors influencing the creep and shrinkage is volume surface ratio, amount of reinforcement. So these are the two things which are influencing. If your amount of reinforcement is increased, what happens? The temperature effects has a mini deviation. Why? Because the concrete and steel are being used, and if you are going for higher floor, the volume of your concrete gets increased and the temperature changes will be very much drastic. So this affects the non-structural component, that is the glazings and the partition walls, etc. As far as possible, distribute the structural members evenly and the loads evenly. Okay, so the partially or fully exposed exterior column, significant temperature difference is observed, and this is the thing when partially or fully exposed exterior column is being found. So that is why in tall structure you can see glazings. So why they are protecting the structure? So they have to reduce the temperature of the structure. So hence they are using the external glazing in order to reduce the temperature difference. So in the internal walls where you are having in the center of the structure will be having lesser number of temperature, and the temperature difference might be up to 10 degree, or according to the place you might have 15 to 20 degree. So what happens if it is fully closed like that? So due to the temperature difference there might be distress in your structure, and it has to be mentioned. And this is a graph which shows the shrinkage and creep coefficient. After 5 years you can see the coefficient which is earlier used in construction of 0.1 is now being increased to 0.9 after 5 years. So it has to be identified in the tall structures. And yes, next thing is fire. When talking about fire, the quantity and nature of combustible materials present. So number of material which will be used in your structure, not only concrete will be there, steel and other acoustic material will be available, and all the service oriented material, that is for air conditioning, and you will be having water supply, sewage, everything. So different thing have different material property, and see number of materials, different materials are included in a structure, and those different material have different combustible material properties and the extent of ventilation. So these are the things which has to be taken care in terms of fire. Once the temperature at various surfaces has to be determined from gas temperature curve. So you have this curve, you have to get the temperature of various surfaces, so which are being exposed to the fire, and it is possible to estimate the heat flow through the insulation and the structural members. So by using this gas temperature curve, you can measure the amount of insulation has to be done for the structural members, and the properties such as elastic modulus and strength decreases with increase in temperature. That is, the structure which you are building, which has the mild steel, which is having a strength of 250 Newton per mm square, which reduces up to 25 Newton per mm square at the degree of 700 degree centigrade. Nearly you will be having 10 to 20 percentage of yield stress of mild steel. So the fire degrades your structure. Yes, the fire degrades your structure, and the strength of the structure, hence the collapse occurs. So the twin tower also, the fire degrades your structural strength, hence the collapse occurs. And the aim of your design should be homogeneous throughout the structure in terms of combustibility. Okay, so few things are there. So that is foundation settlement, soil structure interaction, P delta effect, and design process, and design, yes, design process, everything. So 4 number of things, so which I will discuss in future. So let me conclude up to this, and I thank all the participants. So this amount of time, number of participants has been spent, and I hope that this will be useful for your careers. So at your level, so whatever level of your career, so you will be getting certain level of information. I hope that it is useful, and the 1.5 hours is being useful academically. Okay, I thank the members and all the management team and the organizers which they have worked day and night for this conference. and I thank everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, if you have any,
Thank you, sir.
yes, one or two questions we can have.
Sir, what are the
Hello.
load combinations
Hello,
to
sir.
be used?
Yes,
Sir, what are
Hello.
the load
Hello,
combinations
sir.
yes,
to be used, sir? What are the exact load combinations to be used for tall structure?
yes. So this is Mishra. Mishra is querying like
Yes,
this.
sir. Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay, so you need to know about the load combinations.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so see in Indian standards you have 875 code book and you have the list of load combinations. So what are the loads you are going to consider and how much of the ratio which has to be used, which is there in Indian standards. So you can use that for making the load combinations. So the combinations are differed from different countries. So where you are constructing your structure, you have to make sure that at that place the load combinations are being abided. So we have National Building Code. You can refer the National Building Code load combinations in order to use for pan India. So it is not a common thing which is there for all the countries. Why? Because in certain area the load wind is majorly acting, and in certain countries earthquake will be a major load when comparing to several things. So the design aspect and how the effect is being happened, so according to that the the nationalized team will be working. So we have to follow the nationalized supporting team and which will give you a good approximation and which will safeguard your structure.
Okay, sir. Sir, are you talking about that limit state of serviceability and limit state of collapse?
Yeah, you can, yeah, in IS 456 you can have the load combinations. It is available.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sir, excuse me, sir. This is Dr. S.R. Reddy
Yes, sir.
from Gudwala Engineering College,
Yes.
Andhra Pradesh.
Yes,
Sir, I really, we have given a very excellent presentation with a lot of information. Thank you very much. I have one question.
Yes.
Please.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Similar structure may not give same response when it rests on loose soil or hard soil. Normally, the designers or the consultants, they design the structure assuming the structure is fixed at the base.
Yes.
But during earthquake, since the seismic waves travel through different soil media, therefore the properties of soil also changes. Therefore, particularly in loose soils, when the structure is resting,
Yeah.
the response will be different. Soil structure interaction effect is more.
Yeah.
And in the recent IS 1893-2016 code, it has given that you have to consider soil structure interaction effect also when the tall structures are resting on loose soils.
Yeah.
Can you explain, please?
Yes, sir. So I thank you for the appreciation. And the thing is, soil structure interaction was the next thing which I want to discuss with you. So due to the time, so I have skipped that. So in future, if we meet a separate session, so we can have that. So anyhow, so soil structure interaction, if we are dealing with that, the tall structure with respective to the soil structure interaction, one thing is very much uh, primer and which is most, that is the damping. So the damping in the sense you will be having a fundamental natural frequency for a structure and there will be different fundamental natural frequency for a soil medium. So if these two points get into interact, so there will be a dynamic response. So in the soil structure interaction this has to be particularly dealt. So in order to safeguard the tall structure, this soil structure interaction in terms of damping and in terms of natural frequency has to be dealt and the foundation may be gone well below the hard strata. So in order to face those kind of difficulty.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, sir. Ma'am, Ranjana ma'am.
Any other questions?
Hello, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Audible, ma'am.
Madam,
Continue, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Sheila ma'am, any other question?
Wind analysis of Hello, sir.
Yes.
My question is, sir, in the wind analysis of tall structures, initially we will be taking the flow of wind without any obstruction. But if we are constructing that tall structure amidst a lot of tall structures that is surrounded by a lot of other tall structures, then the effect of wind will not be the same as we predict. So, is there any way to correctly identify the wind, how it will go to if affect and how much is the intensity when a lot of tall structures are there in that particular area itself?
Okay. Okay. The thing is, I hope that you are inquiring related to the software. So in softwares, you can make the wind analysis by using the frame, beam column and frame structure, and you can go for the analysis. And the thing is, you have to use diaphragm, and these diaphragm walls has to be installed wherever you are making the structure, and your model will be there. When making the wind analysis, you have to make the diaphragm in all the surface of the external. In the external surfaces, you have to make the walls and you have to calculate. Then what happens? The walls take the wind force and it distribute to the stiffeners, and parallelly the design will get changed. So now you can change your way of approach in design like this, and you can estimate the structure. Why? Because when finishing your structure, your glazing is also going to take a part of load. So it is going to transfer the load. So whatever you are making the construction in true structure has to be analyzed in design part. So when you are taking into academic career, so majorly the concept will be given, and if you want to make it into a real structure, you have to make calculate for the final architectural model. So that is the final building information model. So you will be getting. So now in these days we have a building information model system. What the exact scenario what we are getting, we can get in terms of the design. So you have to make these information into your building design and you have to perform. So it will help your structure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Let us conclude the sessions, ma'am.
Okay. I would like to express our profound gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. K. Aravindan sir, for his presence in the webinar. I would like to thank our beloved HOD, Mr. M. Sahul Amit, for his moral support and guidance. And I thank to Mr. Manoj Guru sir for organizing wonderful webinar. This webinar has been raising our knowledge and encouraging to express our ideas. I am happy to express a vote of thanks to our participants who made this webinar a grand success. Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.